What's up, man? Where you at?
We're in Spain right now. So my girlfriend and I um, have been on basically like almost a year straight of travel. So we started in Montreal, Canada, drove all the way down to San Diego, just like a month long road trip, 5,000 miles. And then we went up to the Bay Area for a month or two maybe. I don't know, it's hard to keep track of it all. Then we were in Hawaii for a month. And we lived in Thailand for, I don't know, a month and a little bit. And now we're in the Canary Islands of Spain.
Sweet, man. So you're travelers, huh?
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm good to go.
okay, cool. Well, let me tell you a couple of the reasons why I wanted you specifically.
Yeah.
Was there were a couple things you're doing that I really dig. One is I feel like this is one of the most underrated things in all of internet marketing. I call it being a real ass motherfucker, where you're just like unapologetically you on camera and the way you present yourself. And I feel like a lot of people are kind of hiding behind like Ferraris and ClickFunnels and all kinds of bullshit, and you're just like a real dude. And also I liked that you got a lot of business savvy that extends beyond just like, hey, let's build a funnel and figure out what words to say to get somebody to give $1,000 in a credit card on a webinar.
Yeah.
And then I like the crowd of people you hang with as well. Like Joel's cool as fuck. And then I also like that you're very giving in the sense that you help promote everybody else too. Like everybody you feel like is worth sharing, you share, and like that kind of win-win, we all do better attitude. That really resonated with me.
I spent a lot of time trying to be somebody else and thrust myself, just so you understand like where that comes. I thrust myself into new environments. I'm like, oh shit, I've outgrown this. It stresses me out. And I thrust myself into this internet marketing space because that was the next, like, I'm going to learn from these people. And one of the things I do really well, I'm super introverted, but I connect with people. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking at these people that have their Ferraris and Teslas and they're doing 700, a million a month. And they're looking at me, because a lot of times we meet up and we go to the gym because that's my thing. I came from fitness. And they look at me and they just say, dude, I wish I had your life. Because I just, I hang out, I turn my calendar off when I want, I take naps whenever I want. And it's one of those like, I don't have to touch the stove. I see what it's like when you're hiding behind all of this achievement and completely lack fulfillment, right? So probably 10 years ahead of the curve in that sense, because you listen to people, Frank Kern, what's his name, Adam Markell, I just hung out with in California, and they say the same thing. Like, they're 40 years old, millions of dollars, and they want to shoot themselves in the face.
Yeah.
And so probably got about 10 years ahead of the curve by just observing the people that were there and deciding like, no, I'm just going to be me because that looks fucking horrible. And so that's kind of where my positioning and my personality come from.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I saw the story you mentioned, your business life didn't start all glamorous. You were living on a gym floor. Not the most glamorous thing that you guys were building, but obviously you're pretty dedicated and motivated. One of the things you talked about that I thought was really important is kind of just like, looking beyond achievement and actually looking into fulfillment, like your core identity and who you are. So I figured like that's a good place to start because you learned that one the hard way.
Yeah. It's all about there's your shell identity, what you tell people you are and what you want to do. And, I'm a dentist, I have fast cars, look at my house, whatever. And there's that core identity where you sit down with yourself and say, what do I want out of my life? Way different. And this is where I think business people, because business is life, right? They get confused or they get mixed up. And instead of saying, what do I want for my life? They say, not what does my life need to look like, but they say, what does my business need to look like? Right? Like they're interchangeable, but they're not. So they say, I want my business to generate 5 million a month. And I want to have this many employees and I want to do this, this, this. And they're asking the wrong question, right? They're neglecting what their life looks like. And it becomes very, very difficult to make decisions that are congruent with who you are and facilitate a better life, facilitate, family time, free time, time to do shit you like to do. So it's really, to me, like sitting down, number one thing for anybody in business, like, what do I want my life to look like? And really think about your core. What day would you be willing to relive every day? Like, what does that day look like?
Yeah.
And then what I do is I build the systems and parameters that facilitate that. Because I think that's the most important thing for longevity, for giving yourself life, unlimited. Like you just tap into this unlimited source of energy when you're living congruent with your core identity.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's really powerful because, like you said, business is a subsection of life, not the other way around. And I see a lot of people who prioritize the money, and I won't name the name, but I just spent a lot of time with a guy who owns a really, really big Facebook ad agencies, one of the biggest in the world, and fucking miserable because, he has to deal with clients whose expectations are off, and this is taking him all day. And at the end of the day, it's like a thankless work. A lot of people think he's supposed to be the savior, and complaints and things like that. And the majority of his clients are not happy, even though he's making big dollars, which on the surface level would look really nice. But he's really unhappy on the inside, and he doesn't have the free time, doesn't have the family stuff, and there's a lot of other pillars that are missing. I'd be curious to know both what does that day look like for you, and what was kind of like your process to arrive at that somebody else, wanting to kind of do their own version of that could model.
Yeah, I try not to focus too much on details, because then you start getting into like, I want a 5-bedroom house and I want this kind of car, which kind of defeats the purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I like to wake up in the morning. I like to read for 2 or 3 hours, and I like to write after I read. I usually write about the book I was reading before the one I'm reading now, just concepts, principles to distill down. And then work out some sort of activity, get moving outside. If the weather sucks, then I'll go to the gym. And then I have a block of, this is the shit I need to get done today. This is my creative work. And then in a perfect world, after 2-3 p.m., I have no obligations. I usually, if you watch Facebook and you pay attention, I usually just go back to work. But that's how my brain works. And I think the biggest mistake any of my business partners or employees have ever made is try to copy me, right? They don't do this process for themselves. They go, oh, Nick's got to figure it out. And they try to copy me. And like, not everybody wants to wake up and read in the morning. And not everybody wants to work all night just because they feel like it.
Yeah.
So the process for me was really sitting down with myself. I probably took like 2 or 3 weeks to do this. Like really sit down I only did maybe an hour, because at night I can't focus on anything. That's why it's not my work time. Sit down for 30 minutes, an hour, and say like, what are my non-negotiables? Some people start with what they want. And I start with like, what do I know I don't want? I do not want to wake up in a panic ever. Like there's nothing worse than waking up and being all, like buzzed out of your mind because, oh my God, this get paid, this has. So I never want to wake up in a panic. I never want to go to bed emotional. Right. So I have that whole night to wind down. I have my whole morning where I don't check email. I won't check my phone. I won't do anything like that. So I start with, what are my non-negotiables? I will not, for example, like you were talking about business, I will not ever let any of my clients Voxer me, if you're familiar with Voxer. Mm-hmm. It's like a walkie-talkie app that I know Russell Brunson uses it, and cool. This is a good way for my clients to get. It's miserable. So first thing I do is I go through. I say, okay, in my businesses, what are the things I never want to do again? In my life, what are the things I never want to do again? In my relationships, what are the things I never want to do again? And that alone is a huge shift in your life. Because now, like, no, I won't take calls after 6 because I don't want to go to bed with new shit on my mind. No, I will not look at my phone when I wake up because I don't want to be in a panic before 7:30. There's no reason.
Yeah.
So it's establishing non-negotiables and just doing that. It's Charlie Munger who says, like, if I had one wish, right, I would wish to be shown where I was going to die so that I could avoid going there. Right?
Yeah.
And that's how I think about it. Like, sometimes we don't know exactly what we want, but we're pretty damn sure, like, what we don't want. And sometimes we don't know how to deliver the best customer service, but we know what makes really shitty customer service. And if we commit to just never doing that stuff, right, the rest, it kind of figures itself out. So I go the opposite of most people. I don't dream about what I want. I establish my non-negotiables. And as my life gets better, my that little window gets tighter and tighter because life gets better. And all of a sudden, the stuff I was willing to do before, I'm not willing to do anymore because I see what's possible. So that's just how I build those parameters and establish that perfect day, perfect week, perfect life kind of thing.
Well, I mean, that's some really deep shit. I mean, one of the reasons I brought you on here, obviously, is to talk about one of the things you're known for, obviously, which is to help people build systems to be able to actually do that. I think you hit on something a whole lot deeper, which is the principles with which the systems are created out of. Do you mind sharing just a couple of what, like, the non-negotiables for you that help create the systems, and maybe you can lead into, for the people who don't know, besides being shredded as fuck, Nick is a really badass entrepreneur, and he's like a content machine. There's few people that are as consistent as this man right here. And one of the things he's known for helping people do is to quote unquote, the big buzzword I hear these days is scale. Everybody wants to use it, but if you've actually been in that shoes and you're scaling a company, what you find is almost always it's the delivery side of the things that is throttling the business, not because you can't, bump up the amount of ad spending. And so Nick's really good at that. But I think what would be even more powerful maybe for somebody listening to this is kind of talk about is like why you created those systems in the first place and then how those help support the kind of lifestyle you're intending to live.
Yeah, I have diverse interests like most entrepreneurs, right? And so I would build a business. I figured out marketing and sales. And we are told this narrative over and over in the internet marketing world, market, sell, you could do anything. But the truth is, once you have some sort of client acquisition channel or two, you got a webinar and you can do organic and you got a free playbook and whatever, your problem is no longer marketing and sales. It's in your marketing, you made a promise, right? And now your limiting factor is actually delivering on that promise.
Yeah.
And if you want to scale, you got to deliver on that promise and scale. And so I was stuck in this market, sell. And I would get to 50 to 70 grand a month like clockwork. I just open a business, 50, 70 grand a month, hit a ceiling, and then I feel stuck and I would either burn it down, sell it to a business partner, walk away from it, let it dwindle away so I could do my next thing, right? I think that's pretty typical amongst, entrepreneurs and their ADD. In the last business I actually had with friends, very, very, very close friends, and there was it was doing 50 to 70 grand a month. And we could market and sell like crazy, like clockwork, 35 people enroll every month, but the revenue is not going up. And there's always this dark cloud of like something is going to break. Even though I'm really good at leveraging myself out, but it was always this dark cloud of like, I don't have any fulfillment, but something is going to break. And then we were on the verge of, do we burn it down? Nobody's going to buy this thing. Like most businesses are not built to sell, right? Yeah. Nobody's going to buy it. Do we burn it down? If we burn it down, what do we do with all these people that paid for a year? And it was really weighing on me. And then I met my business partner, COO, who's just super linear thinker, super granular, incredibly intelligent. And he said, oh, you can fix this. And like, if you ever seen the inside of a $70,000 a month business run by a bunch of entrepreneurs, it looks horrible. There's fires everywhere. Like
I've been that guy.
Yeah. I said, Dan, nobody can fix this. Like, you just sell it. I said, Dan, nobody will sell this. And he said, here, let's get on a Zoom call. And step by step, he just showed me, like, here's an org chart, here's this, here's this, here's this. And he said, what do you need from your life? And I said, I can't do any fulfillment. I don't even want to think about this anymore. He said, okay, then you build it this way. And step by step, we found like $80,000 in profit slipping through the cracks, leveraged out completely. He's like, okay, where are you on the org chart? And I said, I'm right here and right here. He's like, well, where do you not want to be? And I said, right here and right here. He's okay, we just do this. Boom, leveraged out. Anyway, 6 weeks later, we're walking through this stuff and it was profitable, no more dark cloud, running itself, and we sold it. And that to me was a whole new world of possibility, because the biggest hang up is like people that can market and sell. The biggest hang up is like, oh shit, if I market and sell it, then I got to fulfill it.
Yeah.
Right. And that's like, it's a never ending. So to me, it was one light at the end of the tunnel for me. I can build the things I want to build and not want to kill myself. But also there are so many people like Joel, for example, that has so many ideas and half-built products, and it's the fear of fulfillment. And like, I'm pretty sure his wife told him she would divorce him if he ever launched an agency again.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what we want to prevent. Like your buddy with an ad agency.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So those are people like we could change their life. It's not about the revenue for him anymore. Right. It's probably not about the profit. It's about just the fulfillment. And that to me was like, this is an opportunity to give those high achievers the level of fulfillment that they thought they were going to get when their business was doing this well. If that makes sense. Kind of rambled on there.
Yeah, it was actually, I personally, one of the things I want to ask you kind of as a follow-up is, it resonates deeply what you've experienced, because I've gone through exactly what you just described, where we reached a point where, like I said, I was throttling the business, not because of marketing and sales, but fulfilling on that promise became a challenge to do, especially when you're growing and you're trying to do it through people and pieces that are expanding, all while you're fundamentally, coming up with new ideas and modifying as you go. It can become a pretty hairy mess to manage. What are some of the big mistakes you see a lot of people making in those kind of situations?
The first one is thinking that more revenue is going to solve the problem. Everybody has a different point. Like some people I know people doing $600,000 or $700,000 a month, and they swear at 900, their problems will go away. I don't know why, but that's probably the number one thing is let's find, you do need like a Parthenon, right? Like you need many, many legs to stand on when it comes to marketing and sales. But if you're doing $700,000 a month and you hate your life, like that's not the problem.
Yeah.
So it's leaning on, and usually it's marketing people and sales people that do that, right? It's leaning on their strength. The other issue is they don't have, and this is the most important thing for me and for us, decision-making parameters, right? I said, when we launched our last business, I want 0 fulfillment. My business partner said, I want 3 hours a week. And these are our revenue goals. And so we built everything to facilitate that. So maybe we don't grow as fast as we could. But if I was to do, like, sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this and we'll make $100,000, but then I'll have fulfillment. And that is, we agreed, no fulfillment for my quality of life. So there's things we can't do because we built the system that tells us yay or nay. It also, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to Joel's event. And Dan says, well, based on the system we built, right, these decision-making parameters, for you to spend $5,000, we have to collect 11 more. And I'm looking at the bank account like, motherfucker, we got money. Like, I'm going to Joel's event. But based on what he needs for his life and what I need for my life, in order for that event to make sense, I would have to collect 11 grand, which puts me in a position where I have to feel the pain of the stress I'm putting on the business. And I have to decide, do I want to go sell 11 grand or not? Half the time I say, fuck it, not worth it, right? Didn't put that unnecessary stress on the business systems that we built for ourselves. In this case, I went to Joel's event. I went out and I sold 11 grand. So it's the decision-making parameters which we avoid as entrepreneurs because nobody can tell us what the fuck we're going to do, right? We like to go, oh, money in the bank, let's buy stuff. So we have these systems, these parameters, these metrics in place that are like, the systems are not just operating procedures. There's also yes, no. Yes, you can do this. No, you can't, in order to facilitate what you said your goals were. Or if you want to do this, then you have to do this. And so there's a lot of shit. I actually launched the vault because it just scratches that itch for shit I want to do. Stuff that didn't quite fit in the parameters for decision making in the other business. So that's probably, they just scale. Like we'll sell, we'll figure it out later. But without those decision making parameters, they end up with a shitty life, right? They end up with an ad agency doing all this money, and they like want to burn it down. So it goes back to knowing what you want and then building. We call them, I always think of it like bumpers in the bowling alley, right? You put those bumpers up, do whatever the fuck you want in here. But if this is your destination, you got to stay within the bumpers. And it really helps people like me, like entrepreneurs, and like my head's in the clouds all the time. It helps me make like my business, I'm doing what's best for my business in the long term, in the sense that it's going to facilitate the life that I want in the long term.
Yeah, I think that long-term thinking is probably the most underrated thing that I see people doing again and again. Like, to me, 50,000 a month that's sustainable is way better than 100 grand a month you're going to have to burn to the ground in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I don't think enough people see it that way. So you mentioned a lot of stuff about kind of like designing your perfect day, and then a whole bunch of things that are no's for you. What are some of the things that you have figured out that are kind of like automatic yeses for you, besides, having your morning time and your evening time kind of isolated just for you?
Yeah, it depends. I go through cycles of like, I'll say no to everything and everyone. Right now I'm in a, I'll pretty much say yes to everything and everyone. Like, you want to come to San Diego for this event? Like, fuck, yeah, I guess. I got invited to Elton John's gala in New York City on November 4th. And like, I really don't want to go, but I'm kind of in a yes phase. Like, I'll just say yes to everything. So it's cyclic, and it's probably quarterly, because it changes. There's so many things in my life that are, that they undulate. Like, my day undulates, like high stress, low stress, high stress, low stress. My week does it. And then usually every 8 to 12 weeks, I'll just switch phases. And right now I'm in a yes phase. So I will pretty much, anything that's a new opportunity, because of where the business is at, I have zero fulfillment. Anything that's a new opportunity, I'll do it. And then I'll get burnt out, and I'll go into a no phase, and I'll just read and write all day. That's me.
Evaluating is obviously really key too, right? Like, it's not like you build this perfect average day one time and then you just go ahead and live it for eternity, right? Like, I'm sure you're constantly looking at it based on where you're at and what your goals are going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I think being aware is important, being self-aware. I built a house a couple years ago, built this beautiful house in Vero Beach, Florida, because I just felt like this is what people do, right? Like, they settle, they have a home. And right before it was done being built, I realized this isn't me. I don't want to be stuck here. I don't want to live here. This is the 16th city I've lived in, Franklin, Tennessee. And instead of trying to fight that, because you're supposed to have roots, I just embrace it now. And that is just so much less of a cognitive, like, I'm not blowing my cognitive load on trying to settle, because it's exhausting. So understanding that about being self-aware. Some people need roots. Some people need to I'll probably just backpack an Airbnb around the country. And that's just being aware of what gives you life, which so few people are.
I feel you, brother. The awareness is a big thing, and doing it your way is really, really key, which is one of the things I love most about you. We actually, so I mentioned that my girlfriend and I, before we were on air, have done pretty much traveling for a year straight, and we're expecting our first child in about 2 months. And everybody's saying you got to be in one place if you have a kid. And so, we kind of started taking that possibility pretty seriously because everybody says you have to, right? And we finally recently met a couple entrepreneurs living the lifestyle we want, and they have kids and travel with them, and they sometimes settle for periods of time, but then they get the bug again and go. And one of the things two of the things they told us is that people either have a job that ties them to a location or school, and if you homeschool and do it right, then those aren't limiting factors, and you can do it on your own time how you want to do it. And it's pretty amazing just to learn that. I'm interested. That was probably a little off-topic rant, but it's interesting to hear you say that. So we're kind of running out of time here, Nick. So if somebody wanted to find out some more cool info about you and give you some money and get more into this world of systems and whatever else you want to offer, plug away, my friend. Do we freeze?
A person. Yeah, you're good. I'm very much a relationship person. So best thing to do is try to connect with me on Facebook. My friends list is always full, but if people follow, I'll usually make room and add them. Or the Facebook group, Business, Profit, Control, and Freedom. You go to nickpeterson.com, NICPETERSON, but I prefer to have a conversation. I don't have a lot of landing pages up. I don't have a lot of any excuse to remove a conversation. I try to eliminate that. And so best thing you can do is, I don't know if you're going to, wherever this video goes, if you're going to put a link or tag me or my name, but find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, or pop into that Facebook group and just start a conversation.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm in the group, and I will say there's a lot of Facebook groups that are kind of pointless, very, very low value. And there's probably maybe 5 to 10 really good ones that you follow very actively. And Nick's group is one of those 5 to 10 ones that you will follow very actively. And it's super intimate and active. A lot of good shit flowing in there daily. So definitely recommend it.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. We're going to keep, we got another big time training. Keep this evergreen, so I won't drop a name. But I got a big time training coming, and we just drop them every week. And they're super high value. They're high impact people, right? So, and the thing I've learned last week, I went and hung out with a whole bunch of millionaires, billionaires, high impact people is, and this is what I'm trying to teach in that group. That's why I'm bringing this up, is the wealthiest, highest impact people on the planet are the easiest to access. They are so giving, and all you have to do is ask. So if you pop in that group, you'll just have access to a whole bunch of them as I introduce them, and they just give away so much insight. So that's the big reason for that group, is to get people that have great service and great vision, get them to play bigger, get them in the bigger pond or throw them in the ocean or whatever.
All right, cool, brother. Well, I'll put some links so everybody can get it. Thank you again and so much for doing this. I've wanted to connect with you a while, so it's nice to get a face-to-face.
Yeah, man. Hopefully that was useful. Appreciate it.
Yeah, brother.